This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. I'm your host, Cory, and along with my co-host, Jared, we're best friends, been playing Pokemon for a very long time.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Teach Me Pokemon. I am Jared. With me, my co-host, my co-Pokemon trainer, my partner in crime, Cory Dickman.
Did they have co-Pokemon trainers in the game?
Oh, you're not like my rival. You're like I'm either you're Ash and I'm Brock, or I don't think you're Misty.
Yeah.
So we're like travel companions.
Sure. And this is a whole other topic, and it's been discussed much, but Ash's mother has some explaining to do because she let her like 12-year-old son roll around with an older man and a very flirtatious girl without knowing who they were. Like, that seems odd to me. Like,
And it was pre-cell phone. It was
Yeah,
pre-cell phone, unless we didn't know something about the Pokédexes, like maybe they had some tracking in them. I don't know.
I think the Pokédex could have made a phone call back to Ash's mom just in case. And can I bring this point up? When we were driving back from Louisville after the regionals, we were in the car, you know, the Teach Me Pokemon crew, me, you, and Eli. We're driving back, and I had said, you know, what would the world be like if there were really Pokemon running around? And your response was just like, okay, or it would be like awful because people would have just have captured all of them or killed them.
Yeah, they'd be
had a very dark
enslaving them and making them. I do. I have a very dark outlook on humanity. I would love to live in the actual Pokemon world where people are kind, and the worst thing that you do to Pokemon is maybe like, you know, Team Rocket's trying to steal them, and they're
Sure.
doing. But it's like there'd be some really terrible stuff if Pokemon were real.
They're-
Just look at the animals we have and the things that people do with them, and that's enough for me. Thank goodness they don't have powers.
And then some of them could talk or like be your little friends. Yeah, no, you're true. It was just a very, very dark. I wasn't prepared for that, but that's okay. So
Especially like one of Pokemon, like legendary Pokemon. They'd be
Yeah.
like, there'd be imitations. There'd be like, it would be a mess, Cory. It'd be horrible.
I think your example was like they would just kill Moltres, or it would just be terrible. Like,
Yeah, it'd be horrible.
Yeah, it'd be
I don't want to believe it. But thankfully, we live in a world of Pokemon cards where there are multiple copies, enough for everybody to go around and compete. And that is what we saw this weekend in France.
That is in Lille. I think last year when we pronounced this, we were all over the place with the pronunciation of this amazing French city. But Lille happened. It was the only regionals across the world here that was going on that is in this format. And James Cox, Jared, took it down.
Took it down
from Britain on. Did you call this? No,
I'm from Australia.
I'm sorry, Australia. It looks like a Brit. It's a colony. It used to be a colony. What's the history? Never mind. Did you say Reggie Drago was going to win this?
No, I've been preaching for the last like month how like Reggie Drago's falling off, and then of course it comes in here and shows up. But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. James, if you just go on his Limitless page here, at the World Championships last year, the 2024 World Championships, he got 44th on Reggie Drago.
Great run.
Then he went to Dortmund, got 96th on Reggie Drago, and then took home this first place on Reggie Drago. So James Cox, I mean, he knows the deck and he's playing it really well. And it's a strong deck. I mean, we've known this to be true. I know it kind of had fallen off a little bit, but Jared, I mean, it has all the tools. It has Dragon Bolt, so you're fine. You know, the Kyurem play, you called it. You thought Kyurem would start to creep back up because maybe Lost Box was going to creep back up.
Absolutely.
So took it down.
He did, and I'm actually really surprised by this, but we're going to use James in our educational moment to talk about some deck building. So I do want to come back to him. I want to talk about his Reggie Drago journey, but first of all, tell me you're not shocked that this won. I'm shocked that this won.
I'm shocked. I am shocked. I didn't see it coming. I do, and I know we're going to touch on probably these two exact cards on the deck building part, so we don't have to dive in too much right now, but he had the Hoot. He had a 1-1 Hoot Noctowl, and Reggie Drago that does give you a lot of outs. And we talked about this on the phone. It's like you're going to drop a hoot hoot. You're really forcing your opponent to get in weird prize trades against Reggie Drago, because your optimal pathway is like Reggie Drago, Teal Mass, Reggie Drago, or just a straight 2-2-2. You don't want to go 2-1-2-2. That doesn't make sense.
No.
So then what are you going to do? Leave it there? Well, then great. You get a knocked-out play, and they can find 2 trainer cards. It was a brilliant addition to this deck. And so, again, we'll talk about it, but I think still with that addition, it was surprising. But Jared, 3 of the top 8 were on Reggie Drago, and actually 9th place was a Reggie Drago too. So, 4 of the top 9 decks were this deck. So
I agree.
We're missing something.
No, we always talk about this, right? The best deck, whatever it is. And I think there's a lot of open debate. I said an episode or 2 ago, I don't think there is a best deck. There's so many great things, and this is certainly an S tier deck that you can be playing right now. But it also comes down to what people are playing. This was the 2nd most played deck in day 2 behind Lugia. So clearly there were some good players playing this deck, and it may have just lined up, but it just seems from what we saw at Louisville that this deck, compared to even what we were running, Gold Dingo, or compared to Raging Bolt, was just outmatched. It wasn't fast enough, and it didn't have enough consistency to consistently get these top tier finishes compared to where it was at Worlds.
You're 100% right, and you brought up Raging Bolt, which I'm scrolling through this right now. So far, I'm at 48th place, and I've seen 3 Raging Bolts, 4 by 54th place, 4, 5. I mean, there were not a lot of Raging Bolts, and that, in my opinion, is the Reggie Drago killer. Because Reggie Drago always wants to go first. Raging Bolt always wants to go second. And if Reggie Bolt can get that initial knockout on the first Reggie Drago, I don't know how Reggie Drago comes back and wins that matchup. So
absolutely,
the Raging Bolts, that's the triangle. It's more than a triangle nowadays. It's a octagon, or it's a Teptupalon, whatever the big one. I don't know. There's so many. Which is great for Pokemon, which we love. Back in the day when you and I played a lot, it was like always a triangle. It was like, well, these 3 decks.
These are the 3 decks. Yeah.
But Raging Bolt does play into Reggie Drago really well, and to keep that in check. Without Raging Bolt, well, all the Reggie Dragos could come out and play. So that's
I think you're dead on.
Yeah, that's probably got to be one of the biggest no why it won. No knock to James. Obviously, Kywin got 5th. He is an incredible player out of Australia. So, I mean, these are talented individuals on this deck, but I think it just didn't have enough Bolt keeping it in check.
Well, and here's my other thing, in that I was really shocked. I was really shocked to see that it won. And then I said this when we were talking about it after we saw the results earlier this week. Where is Dusknoir? Where are the Dusknoir variants? Like, we saw the Terapagos go down in play. The Palkia wasn't there. It seemed like Europe was back almost behind the times a little bit, which is surprising, because it always feels like Europe is on the cutting edge of trying new things in the meta. So I was just really confused geographically. This didn't seem like a European tournament.
It did not. No, it definitely had not those flares that we're usually used to, but we had some of our normal cast of characters, right? Sander, who is this year, he is the chairman of the board of the control committee. He is an incredible control player, and he showed up on Snorlax, which was great. We had our boy Stefan Ivanov on his patented Palkia Dusknoir deck. But Jared, where's Tord? I see my man crush Brent here.
Sure.
31st, but where's Tord, Jared?
Well, Tord,
what happened?
Tord is capitalizing on a trend that you and I talked about heavily when we were at Louisville, because we looked around and we saw a lot of Lost Box happening.
Sure.
And you and I were talking, and we're like, it's creeping. It's creeping back, right? Like the Kyurem, people were pulling Kyurems out of their deck, but I think Tord saw the trend, and again, that's such a technical deck. Anything can happen. But it's funny to me that 96th is a bad finish for anybody. I would have.
Yeah, that's like if you got 96th, 97th, don't even Tord. What are you doing? Don't show up, man. What's going on?
Bad day for Tord. For the rest of the 95% of us, great day. Great day.
I think this does prove that he listens because he like copies what we say. You know, we talked about forget the last deck. He like kind of did it. Then we were like Lost Box, and here he goes rolling out Lost Box. And honestly, I think the problem with this Lost Box build for Tord, it wasn't weird enough. Like this is kind of
too standard.
Yeah, this is way too straightforward for him. So I think that was the issue, right? I mean, where is like the one of random Terra Pokemon with the Briar play? Like, where's that in here? Like, I just am missing. I'm missing the normal Tordness that we're used to seeing, and I'm a little sad about that. But that's why he got 97th and not 9th, or 1st or whatever.
So this is I'm looking at the stats right now. In a tournament where Tord does make day 2, this is his worst finish in 18 months.
Wow.
He placed in Orlando last year 149th running Lugia, but since then he's only had one finish over 50th. That's insane.
I mean, when you're the greatest, that's what happens. And he just technically knows how to build these decks. He knows how to sequence probably better than anybody. We've seen it. He's a master at it. And you got to give him a little bit of a handicap, or the other way around, however that's worded. When he gets into a match, unless you're like, Ian Robb or Andrew Hedrick or these guys, he gets probably a little intimidation factor.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe some players make some boo-boos. And so, all that to be said, yeah, he, when you can show up in and out and do as well as he does in an ever-changing field, right? Like, pretty much the new up-and-coming crop of players forced Azul to retire. Like, and I'm not saying like they did that, but he kind of, Azul was like, I'm old, I'm 30. He over the hill.
So, I think it was a money game. I'm gonna bet it was like you can't make the big bucks at the tournament, but those YouTube subscribers, they get you a little something regularly.
That's why you have 9 channels, but kudos to Tord for he's gutting it out, man.
He loves the game, man.
Yeah,
I think they both do. We're joking about Azul. But yeah, clearly, man, if it's in Europe, it's like it's in his backyard. He's gonna be there.
Yeah. Can I before we move on, are we ready to move on? Can I say one more thing?
Oh no, I still have a few more thoughts about Lille as well.
Well, let's keep going. So I hold on. Yep. The committee. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Okay. Sorry, the committee was in my ear. We have to talk about Rone. Sorry, I don't know how to say your name.
I was gonna guess Roan. It felt like Roan. I like that.
We'll go with Mr. Nielsen. That's an easier one. The Deontay, dude.
Yeah, I saw that.
What a cool addition. This card has it's been around for a while, but it's always so intriguing, right? The ability says your opponent basically can't play a boss order to yank out.
I think you have the wrong Deontay.
Oh, am I saying the wrong one?
Yeah, he ran the fighting one that did damage versus a special energy.
What do you think about this?
I was reflecting on it earlier, and I mean, when you're sitting against a Lugia, this makes sense.
Sure.
I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense into Terapagos because they're not going to lay down enough energy. There's 4 energy in that deck. They're not going to lay down enough. So I imagine he's seeing something here, but I imagine this was a prize trading opportunity in the Lugia matchup. Oh, you're going to throw out your Mincino? Great. I'll kill your Mincino with Deontay, and now we're going to keep the prize trade even. That's my guess.
I guess. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I'm usually not with these type of decks, but I guess the Lugia can. But if you're like on Cinchino, Minchino, if you're on Cappuccino, you're not having to attach that many to get the knockout, right? Like on a Snorlax.
But that's the only thing that can get through the rest of these things, right? Like your Cornerstone is shutting down powers. That doesn't have a power. And if you know that they're not running Rod, you just have to get rid of one of them, or else this thing's just going to bulldoze you. Then I think that's why it's in there. I mean, give me another situation, another deck where that becomes so clutch.
I can't think of one. I mean, there's not another one with that many special energies. You're right. The Terapagos is intriguing, but yeah, it would never have that many in play. So yeah, I don't know. Hey, he got third. I didn't. So kudos to Roan.
I think the upped Mimikyu play is telling as well.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of been standard. I think a lot of these control lists now or stall lists is 2 Mimikyus, 3 Mimikyus. I've seen 4 Mimikyus. Like the Mimikyus are just so powerful into this meta with the Raging Bolts and the Regidragos. And there's ways around it for sure, obviously, but like it just becomes so clutch, and obviously now we're seeing multiple copies of these things. But kudos. It was nice. It was nice for a stall/control deck to start to make its way back into the top again. It had been a minute. It had been a minute. So very cool. Very cool. What else stood out to you?
I mean, we always like to talk about the spice. We got to talk a little bit about the spice. We got a gouging fire in day 2. That's exciting to me.
That is really cool. I mean, this deck has all the pieces, right?
Yeah.
You can run Setas, so you're already good at that point. Fire doesn't really give you much type advantage into what we're going up against right now, especially it hits 260 anyway. But I think if more people played it, Jared, I think it would have a lot more top finishes. It just no one's ever on it. But I think it does a lot. It can snipe. It can do a lot of different things.
How high up did the gouging fire finish?
It got 14th, so top 16.
Yeah, that's a run, man.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luke Kirkham.
Get it, man. Like, respect.
Yeah.
That's sick run with that. Because, I mean, the only other time we've seen this do this well is in some of our Japanese tournaments, right? Back when it first came out and we really saw people trying to use Magma Basin in addition with, like you were saying, Seta. So, I don't know. I like it. I'm always down for a sick fire deck. So, kudos to Luke.
Yeah, it's awesome. I would say, I guess one just quick point, the Bennett Guardy deck,
yes.
it is a very high skilled game. I've been playing it a lot on live just because I heard Chip say it was a high skilled deck. So I was like, well, then I'll play it. And it has tons of ways to have advantages in matches, but it is very tough to play. There is so much moving of damage around with the Monkey Dory, with the Alakazam, and it's the 190 Gardevoir can hit 190. You move over 50, to knock out Raging Bolt. It is a very technical deck. It's a fun deck, and the item lock is really good, especially if you go first. Get the Bennett going second, and then just item lock your opponent if they need a rare candy or something. They're stuck, but Piper did really well at Louisville. I like seeing this person got 10th on it. I think it's a very high skilled deck, and if you can get the right matchups and perform your deck well, I think it's an awesome deck. But my biggest surprise, you know what my biggest surprise is from Lille, Jared? What am I going to say?
Let me look at something real quick.
What's missing here? It takes me 20 slots to get to this. And this is the best deck in the format, and it got 21st. The Terapagos.
That's what I'm saying. Where's the Dusknoir play at?
I'm shocked. This is the best deck of the format. It is. Fight me on it. Fight me.
2 episodes ago, you said Dragapult was the perfect deck.
What? No, perfect's a strong word.
I thought so too.
Perfect. That's not perfect. Greninja Break was perfect.
Can we get a clip? I want to see a clip up here from Matthew. Literally, the quote was, "I don't use the word perfection a lot." And I'm sitting here going, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
no, I only use that term for like a Pidgeot control deck. That I'm just like, I shed tears of how good it is.
I'm writing it down. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Matthew clip from a couple episodes ago. We're gonna cut to it.
It might be. I would never have said that. I have never have said that. But Terapagos is best deck in format, and for it to get 21st place and below is shocking to me. I think this deck is incredible. I don't know why it doesn't get 5 of the top 8 spots here. I mean, it's so good. So I don't know how to explain that, but that's probably the biggest thing that sticks out to me from Lille is just the lack of performance from the Terapagos.
Well, it didn't
formerly known as Terapagos.
Fair. I'm trying to find the day one statistics here on its breakdown. So it didn't see a lot of 11% of the day two share.
Sure.
But in day one, maybe it just wasn't played, like, and that's what we run into. I think everyone's always assumption is like the best players are running the best deck, but it just shifts so much tournament to tournament and player to player. And so it is. And now there's going to be a meta read off of this for the next tournament. People will adjust, and it just keeps ever evolving, just like our Pokemon in the game. But great to see another tournament. Cory, do you know what our next tournament coming up is?
November is Sacramento, so that's way too far away. I'm gonna say it's got to be a Latin American tournament. Give me regionals in some country in South America.
It is
Buenos Aires.
I'm looking at it right now. It looks like the next one, November 9th, we do have something in Argentina.
Oh, Argentina.
And then after that, so we're a couple weeks out from that, and then we do have Sacramento coming up. Oh, I'm sorry, Poland. The next one is in Poland.
Oh, that's
in 2 weeks. Yeah, Poland. So we're going to be in Dansk, Poland. Then we'll go on over to Palais Rouge. I don't know if I'm saying that right, in Argentina, and then we will come back and we will hit the West Coast in Sacramento.
Well, but what's happening on the 15th of November? You skipped?
Did I skip?
That's LAIC. That's our first international.
Oh, our first I apologize.
Sao Paulo. You and I will not be there. But I would give my left leg to go though. And anybody, come cut it off. We'll fly there. It would be awesome. But I don't think that would work. But it'll be fun to see the first IC of the year and see what takes it down. That's where Tord gets serious again. So, give us a call. Tord will tell you what to play. So you feel
That's it, man. That's it. Well, we have other exciting things happening outside of the competitive world that directly affect the competitive world. Surging Sparks is coming, Cory. We mentioned it a little bit last week. Scans are up everywhere. There's pre-releases going on now this weekend. So what Cory and I wanted to do is to take you on over to
we have
our first impressions of what's going on here. And I say this as first impressions because we have not taken a deep look at this yet. We usually don't do that until the cards are available on live. We're not proxy printers or anything like that. We just kind of like to take a look. And that's what we've done in the last 48 hours. And we're pulling up about 5 or 6 Pokemon each that we think could have some play, as well as a good look at the trainer supporter line that is coming out.
I love it. Let's dive, man. I'm ready to go. Okay.
I'm going to kick us off. And this will come back into play. One of the big Pokemon that we all know that's coming out is the big Executor EX. It is one of our newfangled Terra Pokemon. And I just think anytime you can do something on your first turn as an attack is busted, right?
Sure. Can you read it? I can't see it from here.
It says if you go first, this is the execute. This is the basic. This is a 30 HP Pokemon. Dragapult just licking its lips right now at this little thing.
Yeah. All the Dusclopses too. They're like,
just nom 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 nom. But it says if you go first, you can use this attack during your first turn. Search the card from Evolves from this. Put it onto this. So you don't even have to find the Terra EX if you don't want to. There's other execute options out there, but it just feels like a protection in a world where donking still happens, Cory.
Does it? I mean,
it does. I got donked in the championship round of a pod by a 12-year-old in Louisville. And it was a terrible donk too. Now she did great. I don't want to take away from my opponent. She did fantastic. She was on Reggie Drago, dunked me on Reggie Drago with its base V move that does 130 and 30 to the bench.
Nasty. Yeah, that would end it right there. That'd be bro. You could have both of these on your bench and still lose to that. So like, what is that? 2 energy switches with Teal Mask.
That was it.
2 energy
Teal Mask, 2 energy switches. Or no, I'm sorry. She crispened She crispin and one energy switch. So
oh, that's a good play.
yeah.
So the Executor EX or Terra is it really good? Like,
Oh yeah,
why?
we go look at it here in a little bit.
Okay, we're not done yet. Okay,
We
so
gotta
we're
look
talking
in a
about
bit. But you went, Corey, you went to a classic, and I'm interesting why you picked this because this seems tempting but not really good. Tell me why I'm wrong.
there are leaf decks out there that you could structure your deck around. And I think of things like Espathra that offer like some frustration to your opponents, which force them as a player, Jared, that loves discarding decks. Rule number one of a discarding deck is you have to force your opponent to play the game. There's very minimal dream scenarios, maybe in old Durant decks, where you could just get on top of your opponent and it didn't matter. But typically you have to force them to play because that burns through more cards. So like a deck like a Spathra could be really good in this because that's forcing your opponent to attach more energy. You have to run pennies and Turos, and there'd be some weird cards in there that you may not like to play. But these Durants, I think you could cycle them. And if you just keep chipping away at your opponent's discard pile, or their deck. I just think that's so. I've always loved that mechanism, and there will be ways to get these back up, drop them back down again. Rescue stretchers, pull them back out. Like this is going to be a thing. I think there's something coming that was a lot like, man, I'm blanking. It was a mega. Back when I got back in again, like 2017, that discarded your bench and you did like more damage based on how many you discarded. And then you can put them back on. So I just think if you can force your opponent to a bad position and then be able to potentially get them, run out of cards, then you win. I just like Durant. I think that's really cool.
I think that's fair. Durant is known as a classic mill Pokemon in circles, and I will shout out our local tournament organizer, Randall. He's a huge Durant fan, and so
yeah.
I'm sure he's very excited to see something like this. But I agree with you. The only reason I didn't pick this card is because I think it has some partnerships that just aren't available yet. But I guarantee you will see that. People love this card, and it's fun to play.
It's going to be fun to play. And there's some other like discarding type decks too that you could say, oh, I could pair it with this. But I think you need to have the mindset where you're still kind of attacking, but then have this in the backdrop. I mean, its attack is not bad. It's just the fact that it's 3 energy, right? But it's one of those, does 120 and then more damage based on how many, is it 30? 30 damage?
Yep, 30 more.
Yeah, how many prizes your opponent's taken. So this thing gets stronger as the game goes on. If it was a 2 energy move, I could see this being like, oh, I'm just going to attack with this thing, and then it just has a cool mechanism with the discarding with the ability. But I just think it's cool. I think it's fun. It's gonna see something in some weird troll deck for sure.
I like it. Well, let's keep pressing on. Let's see what we next, and we'll let you kick this off first with the Skeledirge.
Man, the Skeledirge, 180. Now I know it's a stage 2. It's fire type. It's a 1 prizer, which is great. The ability, which comes in handy against Dragonbolt, it says it can't be affected by attacks, right? So if it's on the bench, you cannot lay the 6 damage counters on this guy, which is super helpful. It's not as big a thing right now, but like it can't be de-evolved either, which is a way to get around these stage 2 guys to frustrate your opponent. But it's the attack, Jared. It's 2 energy, 1 fire, 1 colorless, 60 damage plus 20 for each bench on both sides. So you get the area 0 in play. You have 8, they have 8. You start playing the math with me, Jared. This thing is one-shotting anything that gets put out there. And there are some good Terra Pokemon that you could pair with this. You might be bringing up one here in a different side, but like I think this could be a really strong stage 2 1 prize deck with a low energy count. You could Magma Basin potentially to speed up energy, and you got to have area 0, so maybe that wouldn't work. But even if it was just straight up, they had 5 and you had 5, you're still swinging for 260 damage, which isn't bad on a 1 prize Pokemon.
Yeah, no, I agree. It will be interesting to see. Again, fire is still strong. You have Magma Basin. You have ways of moving around and speeding up energy with different cards right now. So I think this could be very interesting. I think you'll see this at some leagues. I don't know how far it will go in the main meta, but I think it's a great pick. I picked something that I think is going to be very meta, which is the new Terra Ceruledge. I can never pronounce this Pokemon right. Ceruledge EX. And Corey, we're going to talk about one of the new ace specs that came out. I think it partners really well with this. But this thing has the ability to do huge damage to stage 1. And I'm talking more so about its 1 energy move, its first move. It's just 1 fire energy, 30 plus 20 for every energy card in your discard pile. Corey, it is not hard to get cards in your discard pile right now.
Oh, baby. Wait,
at
so
all.
30 plus 20 for every energy in your discard pile. Okay. So help me. If you had to get to 340, how much energy is that? 10?
You couldn't get to 340 because this is always going to put you on an odd number. You could get to 330 for 15 energy in your discard pile.
Well, 330, that's all we need to hit anyway.
Sure.
Right? 330. Is it? Or no, Dragapult is isn't Dragapult 340?
No, Dragapult's 320.
320, and then Charizard's 330.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right. So 10 energy in the discard pile.
That's it. No. You need 15. 15.
Oh, that's a lot, Jared. That's a lot.
Yeah, but also we're in this world right now where the Terapagos is successful with its damage output because it's pulling things up. It's pulling up Squawkabillies. It's pulling up Teal Mask Ogrepons. It's grabbing its Pheasantippities. It's grabbing anything on the bench. So if I told you only had to get 10 energy in the discard pile to do 230 or 9 to do 210,
okay,
then that's interesting. And I think what we learned a lot when we were in Louisville, that anything over that 240 HP puts some players and their decks in a really difficult health position.
You're right. It does. I think you're right. It's a stage 1. It has the amplifying attack. So usually those are always really strong. You could run, Vitality Bands. You could run Defiance if you got behind, help pick up some damage. Okay. I guess like Jesse Parker's Miraidon deck had how many energy? 16?
16, yeah.
Oh, you'd have to run probably 18 or 9. You'd have to run a lot if you want to get to the one-shot potential. But
sure.
Anyway, okay, cool. I mean, it could be a strong two-shotting deck, and you scoop it up or something. I don't know.
I think there's some options here. I like it. I'm not too keen on its second move, Raging Amethyst, but we're about to talk about some things that may change your opinion on that as we move. This was mine. This was the only water Pokemon. I can't believe you didn't select this as one of yours, but I think this has huge potential moving forward in the stall world.
It says it can't be hit by Terra, right?
Right. So this is the Melodic EX. It has an ability, Sparkling Scale, says prevent all damage from and effects of attacks from your opponent's Terra Pokemon. So let's talk about what can't hit this. Charizard can't hit this. Dragapult can't hit this. Terapagos can't hit this. Any Terra Pokemon cannot hit this. And I understand we still live in a world that has a lot of Vs, that has a lot of EX non-Terras. But I think this has some play at some level moving forward, depend on how the meta shifts.
It does. I think built into like your stall decks or control decks, where if you do hit up against Charizard, you probably just drop this down and then shake your opponent's hand or give him a fist bump. Raging Bolt, they don't care. It's just gonna
they don't care.
This card, if you get hit up against like your Gardevoirs or Regidragos.
Sure, Lugia doesn't care. There's a lot that right now doesn't care. Yeah. But give me this down the road. I'm saying this is a card to revisit in a couple of sets once rotation happens.
It's a really good card. I think if you can tell me, you run a 1/1 and that in essence takes out Charizard and Dragapult from your and Terapagos. So you have 3 of the top 7 or 8 decks. You have an easy counter win too. I would take that, right? Terapagos is not running the canceling clone. And there are some Charizard, they don't really do that either. And same with Dragapult. So it's like you kind of do maybe have an easy win. Now there's ways around it, right? They can start chipping you with littler Pokemon or Radiant Charizard or whatever. But no, it's good. I saw it. I thought about it. Obviously, I did not select it. But it's good. It's good.
And
I'm
that
not
is
telling
okay.
you you're wrong. It's good.
It's not bad. Now let's get to the real conversation here. What everybody collectors are talking about this next set of cards. Players should be talking about these. Cory, these two cards together just seem silly. Like, so why don't you take the Pikachu EX?
Well, okay, so read me the Magneton one more time before I go full. Just read me the ability.
Okay, so we're starting with the Magneton, stage 1 Pokemon, 100 HP. It's an electric Pokemon, which is important.
Yeah.
It says once during your turn, you may attach up to 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile to any of your electric Pokemon. So not your basic electric, any of your electric Pokemon.
Okay.
And then similar to what we're experiencing with Dusknoir right now, you have to knock this Pokemon out.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't think people are upset about. Like, oh, let me give you a busted ability and an advantage you're probably after as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think it could work in the spider. What's the spider? Gargantua, tarantula, or
yeah, Galvantula.
Galvantula with the item locking. But anyway, that's another story. The Pikachu. I'll talk about the Pikachu, and that's brilliant with the Magneton. Really, this Miraidon needed a partner. Okay, the Mewtwo is awkward. It's just awkward. You could at least in some shape or form maybe get this move off with a Miraidon deck. You'd have to run a metal and a leaf and a leaf energy, which is kind of weird. But I think it needed a proper EX type, and Pikachu is Pikachu. I mean, it's the mascot of the game.
It's the brand. It's the brand, man.
This card just had to be picked for that reason alone. But I think there is some play for this card. That move does 300 damage. I mean, that is you end the game with that kind of move. So, Luminous Energy could be a nice play in here too. Like, I think there are ways to get this move off. You can pair really well with Miraidon and you go. Now, but paired with your Magneton, I think that's the way to go for sure. I love that.
Yeah, and I think the energy, I know people are looking at the energies. It's leaf, electric, metal, right? So, yes, the Magneton helps a ton, but you can't just be knocking out a Magneton or have the availability to have a Magneton every turn. So I think this still plays really well with Teal Mask. This still works really well with elements of older Miraidon decks. Speed up your energies with item cards. This just feels silly. And then, Cory, let's get to the ability of this Pikachu. Do you know what this ability does?
I didn't even say it. Yeah, if it's full HP, it can't be knocked out. It returns with 10. I mean, you can't one-shot the thing. So you'd have to drop a Dusknoir and then knock it out. You'd have to get really creative in how you're going to kill it. I mean, if you can figure out a good way to cycle energy back onto this Pikachu, you can take 4 prizes before they're knocking you out. And it's going to be strong, man. I think Pika-Rom, right? The Pikachu Zekrom combo tag team card, that was probably the strongest Pikachu TCG deck ever.
VMAX was strong. The one that was hitting basics.
Oh yeah, where he was in the balloon.
Yeah.
That's true. That did see a lot of play too. I think this is going to make a comeback. I think Pikachu is good for the game, good for juniors, seniors, masters. I think this brings life back into the most popular Pokemon ever made. So.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk about one more thing here, because I don't think some people may not be realizing it, because you're probably sitting at home right now saying, oh, if I've got a Pikachu on the bench, how do I get damage? It's a Terra Pokemon, Cory. It has to be damage counters or something from an ability even to get it. So like our Hawlucha is going to start being a thing. This just seems bananas to me right now. Now, if you could shut down the ability, sure. And there are things that shut down abilities, fine. But man, this seems strong from a first impression look.
Yeah, from a first impression look, very strong. The bench, I think too. I mean, you have the Dusknoir and you have the Dragapult, Regidrago with the Dragapult. So there's ways to pepper some damage onto the Pikachu so it can be in range for a one shot, but it doesn't feel good when it's active, because it's like it just doesn't. You feel like, oh, good, I'm getting a return here. I'm going to knock out and be ahead in the price trade, and you're not. Now, you put it to 10 health, you could be just asking your opponent next turn just to knock it out, get Dragapult, and then knock this thing out next turn. It's not perfect, but I do think it's a really cool card, and it being basic, I think, is awesome.
I'm with you. So I expect to see a lot of this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of experimental. More so, this Magneton opens up so many Terra Pokemon that weren't viable before. I think you're absolutely correct. Any type of electric Pokemon that's Terra has some juice now. So
The Gargantua, I can't say it.
Galvantula.
That card, I think that's the pairing.
Ooh,
But I know
shut
you
down
have
the
to
items.
discard. You still have to discard, right? With that, I think it's 2.
Yeah, but
Off
it's in the
that.
same position. I think it may be using the exact same energy, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on one second. I'll confirm that.
Yeah, pull up Gargantua. Gargantula. Gargantula?
Galvantula.
Garvantula.
The only difference is it's fighting versus metal. So it's leaf. And then, but we've already seen how other people are dealing with this outline with some specific tool cards. Yeah, man, this could get bananas really quick. But we'll see. We'll see how the best of the best throw it out there.
Pika. It's gonna be good, man. Let's go.
Love it.
Right
All right,
on.
let's move forward. Cory, I think this is excited as both of us get. Like all the other stuff has been fine so far. Yeah, we're excited about Pikachu. When you saw this card and I saw the card I selected, I just get really, really excited. So do you want to start talking? Do you want me to start talking?
I can do whatever. You want me to start?
I'll start because I feel like you have some history here that I don't.
Okay,
But
right.
one of my favorite Pokemon is Coffegregious.
Yes.
Like I love this Pokemon. It's so cool.
Yeah,
And
and
now
Halloween themed.
it's Halloween right now.
Perfect
Yeah.
time of
So
year. Yeah.
just let me read this ability to you. Make sure I'm reading this correctly. Because sorry, Pikachu, we're about to ruin your day right here.
Yeah, this won't work anymore.
This won't work. This is just a cool name for an ability too. So Coffegregious, stage 1 Pokemon, 120 health, 1 prizer, 1 psychic energy. This move is called Law of the Underworld. Put 6 damage counters on each Pokemon that has an ability, both yours and your opponent.
Oh, now you left that part out.
I
earlier.
did leave, but I don't think it matters because you were talking and I love to run decks that just run supporters, and you find okay. I'm totally fine. But even that, I feel like there could be some great pairings here with Pokemon that have abilities that you want damage counters on.
Sure.
That can get really nasty. But I just think this thing is brutal. If you could cycle this and your opponent isn't paying a lot of attention to what they're laying down, you could very quickly say a bye-bye to a lot. Monkey Dories are dying left and right. Teal Mask Ogrepons can only survive so long. This gets very nasty very quickly. And the De-Evolutor plays here on stage 1, stage 2 Pokemon is just brutal.
Heavily in play. Yeah, I mean, 6 damage counters is a lot, especially when it's like Manaphy has 70 HP. Rodham has 70 HP, right? I mean, it's like, the Pidgeot obviously has a lot of HP, but then the Pidgey doesn't and has 60 HP. You mentioned the de-evolving. I love a good spread deck, right? If you go to my Limitless page, you can see NAIC 2019 wheezing right there. It doesn't have my deck list, but you can see the wheezing. I love the damage spread, and this just 6 is a ton.
It's so much. It's like I would have played this if it said 4 or 3.
I was gonna say 2. I'll take 2. I did dream of a Frostlass deck with this, but I don't think that would work now because your Frostlasses would die too quickly. So I don't know if that's gonna work. Monkey Dory, if you had one, is interesting, but that's only gonna live
2 turns.
2 turns, yeah. So that's probably not ideal. So I think your best pairing, I don't know. Again, you love the raw draw. But, I think the Dusclopses maybe because you put 6 on there. Who cares? You're going to kill those things next turn anyway. And that could be a way to kind of clear your opponent's board pretty fast. This just puts a lot of pressure, and it makes your opponent really second guess what they're going to put down on their bench because, it would take 4 turns to clear the board of Teal Masks if they did that. Like if they're putting 3 down, well, you win the game in 4 turns. I don't know, man. It's really cool. 6 is a lot, and it's a stage 1, 120 HP. Not terrible. Like Greninjas are Radiant Greninjas are dying here. I mean, it's good, Jared. It's a good card. It's a
I'm
good card.
pumped. I will be playing this card at League. If you're listening, I'm coming in hot. Cory, now let's transition to an old fling of yours.
Look,
I don't like Sylveon EX. Take it away, Cory.
oh, all right. There, you had, and this was blasphemy earlier when you said I called Dragapult perfection, because it's not. This Sylveon EX card is. This it breaks the game, and I don't want to get too much. I don't want to get too excited, Jared, because this card's going to get banned. That's how good it is. Let's go through it. And I know it's a stage 1, 270 HP, psychic type. It has 2 pretty good moves. Okay, we will talk about the second one because that's the one that's going to cause this card to get banned. Angel Light, is that how you would say it? Is the move
fair? I think that's fair.
Water, psychic, electric. Don't ask me how we're going to get that energy on. Maybe it's Magneton. No, it can't be Magneton because it's not electric type. We'll figure that out. Don't worry about it. The move: choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, shuffle those Pokemon and all cards into your opponent's deck. If one of your Pokemon used Angel Light during your last turn, it can't be used this turn. So I get that part of it, but you don't need to do this move every turn. That is way overkill. You put the Pidgeot and the Charizard back in. You put the Pidgeot and the Dragapult back in. You put the Terra back in against Terapagos. Now they got to discard their bench again, which you do that like twice, and they can't win the matchup anymore. So this Sylveon, and then in the in-between turn, its other move, Magical Charm, 160. Again, it's a 3 energy move. I get it. I hear you. Okay. But 160, and then next turn, your defending Pokemon, they do 100 less damage. It's 100.
Crazy.
Huge. You can't one-shot this thing next turn. This move is it has no comprehension. It's so good. This deck will be played. I will be playing it. You will see it at NAIC. I will be lifting the trophy and telling you all, like I told you, it was on this episode. I don't know what number this is, Jared. Episode 55. What I told you what was going to win, and this is the Sylveon. This is it. I don't even know what it needs to be paired with. I don't know. I don't think it matters. It needs the energy acceleration. I understand that. But I don't think people get how devastating it is to get 2 of your Pokemon shuffled back into the deck. Like, that's brutal sometimes. If it's your draw engine, if it's your attacking Pokemon, and then it just sets your opponent back. And so what you pair with it to disrupt and things like that, that will be important. I know I just said it didn't matter, but it is important. I just think this card's too good. It's going to get banned. It's going to get banned, Jared. You won't be able to play the card.
You didn't even touch on the fact that the new Eevee that is in this set has an ability that says, as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, it can evolve the first turn you play it.
Unreal. I had no idea. I didn't read that. That makes us even more. Let's not even talk about it. It's going to get banned. It already got banned. I just heard from Pokemon TCG Inc. They just banned it. I can't believe this card got banned. Dang nabbit, I never got to play it.
You don't even have to discard the energies to do that move. You could do it. I understand you could only cycle it every other turn. But like, okay, 160, you can't do 100 next turn. Oh, you're trying to build something up on your bench? Bye. Oh, and now I can just attack you again next turn and prevent damage to me.
Yep.
Golly, man, this is insanity.
I have to like go through all the matchups in my head and how things would be played, but like it just resets, cards that reset boards and states like that. Like oh my gosh, I'm blanking. The Lysander's trump card, right? That reset each opponent's discard pile and shuffled it back in their deck. That thing lasted 2 days and then it got banned. So and I'm not saying this is at that level necessarily, but when you can just push it back, Jared, Dark Palm, we've talked about it on this podcast. The old school Dusknoir.
The 2008 Dusknoir.
When you kids weren't even born yet, Dusknoir. If your opponent had a 4th bench, its ability said pick one of those and put it back in their deck, or it might have been their hand. It was one of the 2, but it was devastating. How many opponents just scooped when I did that? Handful. Just, your Magmortar had all this energy on it. Yeah, put it back in. So now we're back to it. So it needs the right pairings. Obviously, this move doesn't do any damage, but it doesn't need to. It's key what you do after the fact. What you're applying some pressure. The other move, like I said, is what you go to 160, reduce damage by 100, and you just wait for your opponent to get set up back in, and then you Angel Light. And then they got to start all over again. Then you're applying the pressure again. 160 reduced by 100. 160 reduced by 100. It's a stage 1. You can put the vest on this, the Defiance vest, that reduces by 40 more damage. So now you're reducing 140 damage. I mean, you just can't give through this thing. So
No.
I don't know. I already know what I'm running. So I know we liked, before Louisville, we played it pretty close to the cuff, pretty close to the chest when we were going to run Goldingo. I'm not playing this one.
I think
San
it would
Antonio.
be. This deck would be afraid of Goldingo because it's weak to metal. Goldingos are everywhere. Like you have a billion of them up, but I also think it would be afraid of your other pick right here. This is what it has to fear, Cory.
This okay, am I off the pedestal now?
Now we're in the real. We're in Archulodon's real world camp talking about. I love to see Sylveon.
Yeah, now back to real life. Archulodon is going to be everywhere. It's this deck. And Jared, I kind of cheated. I went and looked at some Japanese tournaments. Archulon is winning almost every single one. It's dominating. Let's talk about it. It's a stage 1 with 300 HP, which is stupid. Its ability says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic metal energy from your discard pile to your metal Pokemon in any way you like. It has a 3 energy move, all metal, which doesn't matter based on the ability I just read. And it does 220. And it says this Pokemon can't attack next turn. Oh, wait, that's what it should say. What it actually says is during your opponent's next turn,
it has no weakness.
So I know all your Radiant Charizard thoughts went out the window where you're like, well, I'm just going to return, kill, do 500. No, you're not, actually. It only does 250, and this thing has 300 HP. So I don't really know. I don't know what you do. I've seen these lists. Some of them run 2 Turos, which might be underplayed. I think it probably could run 3 Turos because you just scoop it up. It puts the energy in the discard pile. You evolve the next one and you just attach them right back. And so I don't know what the answer is because you can't hit 300. Very little hits 300. I don't know how you
Pikachu.
I don't know how you beat it. It's so good. This is so good. What was Pokemon thinking when they made this card? So that's my I don't know. And the proof is in the Japanese pudding. So
I just gotta believe we're gonna start seeing some ability to take care of some powers more. Because this is just quite frankly bananas. And again, there's Sylveon in a perfect world without this card is fantastic. This is a nightmare. This is nightmare fuel for Sylveon. It's like, I'll reduce. Now I have, you just have to hit me for 340. I'll hit you for 440.
Yeah. Poor Sylveon can't really survive. I mean, like it puts the 2 bench back in the deck, which is probably the worst case scenario for Archulodon because then it keeps the energies in the deck, not the discard pile anymore. But I mean, you're running a 4-4 or 3-3. I mean, you can run Matangs if you want. There's variants with Matang. There's variants not with Matang. This thing is just going to be hitting. You turn 1, this thing is hitting, and I don't know, Jared. It's going to be really tough There's that supporter that discard 2 metal energy, search your deck for any 2 cards you want. It's just stupid. Like it's this Archulodon is too good.
Well, don't worry, Cory. We're gonna get to the items. Everyone's gonna be running Babiri berries.
Okay, yeah, Babiri berries everywhere.
Babiri berries, everybody.
Anyway, so Archulodon, this is actually what I'm gonna run in San Antonio. So
crazy stuff. Well, let's keep going. We've got a few more. Now, we didn't really care for any colorless Pokemon. Dragon didn't really pique our interest. I know I said it was going to have the execute. It's very interesting. Has some effects of attacks. But, Cory, this first card right here, now that we're in trainers, supporters, tools, I mean, what's so fun about this set is that it feels like a throwback set on it's making call outs to so many mechanics that have existed before.
Yeah.
And this first one, if
Yeah.
you played in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
like, you know immediately what this card is based off of. And we're
Yeah.
talking about the new A-Spec Brilliant Blender. It says, search your deck for 5 cards, discard them, then
Yeah.
shuffle your deck.
Yeah.
Take it
5.
away.
Yeah. 5. Not 3. 5. Now, it is an A-Spec, so you can't, run 4 of these, like, Night Marches could back in the day. But, like, 5 is a ton, and 5 is all you need. There are, you mentioned the new fire deck. I don't even want to say the name because I'm going to butcher it. The one we talked about earlier in this episode. I can't remember the name. We've seen our deck, United Wings, not Alex Szymanski, our United Wings deck that we came up with a long time ago. It could run this, get them all in the discard pile right there. It's gonna be played. It's an amazing card. It's an item card. Searcher, 5 cards, throw them in the discard pile. There was always so many cool, clever ways when VS Seeker was a card because you could discard a supporter and then VS Seeker it, which was always a nice play if you were stuck. This doesn't have quite the same effect, but if you have a stretcher in hand, search your deck for the Pheasantipity and then stretcher it back and draw 3 if you got knocked out last turn, right? There's some plays there where you can search out the Pokemon and then put them back on your bench. So I think Brilliant Blender brings back a lot of decks that can be played. And if 5 cards is a lot, even worst case scenario, just thinning out your deck is not what you want to be using this card for, Jared. But if you're going to the end of the game and for some reason you have a Brilliant Blender and you have to optimize your search, thin it out, baby. Like, thin out your deck and then you top deck the boss for the win. So, Brilliant Blender, great card. I'm glad they brought it back. I'm glad it's just an A-Spec. I'm glad it's just an A-Spec and not just a normal item card. I think that was a good addition.
I agree. I totally agree. This next card, Corey, I picked it because I know it's good, but I hate it. I hate this card so much because I don't play decks that feature comeback mechanics. And the tool card that I'm talking about, for those of you listening, is Counter Gain. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, attacks used by Pokemon this card is attached to are a colorless energy less. Yep. And this is really hard for me personally because right now tool cards are very easy to get. Arvin Forum, put your stadium out there, go grab them. There's lots of ways to grab them. It's a little more difficult now because I understand tools aren't trainer cards anymore. I know there's that, or item card, there's that distinction. But man, you said it so well a couple of episodes ago when you were talking about developing a game plan for what's on your opponent's board. And I have to game plan for this now too. Yeah. Like, how? Now they're getting an energy card if they're behind. Yeah. And like this just makes comeback decks that much stronger.
Yeah, Counter Gain, this is a reprint. It was always a great card because, just like you said, and now there's more ways for you to get down in prizes than really there were before, right? The Dusknoir, obvious choice.
The Magneton now.
I mean, just knocking yourself out to do a Counter Gain was just always has been a great card. And this does always make you think, and there's times, well, okay, my opponent doesn't have it right now. Like, you're good. You can't really say that with a Counter Gain because you're like, well, shoot, they do have an easy comeback mechanic for a 1 energy move that normally should be 2. And so, I mean, Palkia is interesting with this because and this is very situational, but like there were times where the Greninja play now can be done with 2 energy instead of 3. So you could be down 1 in prize, Palkia, Counter Gain on Greninja, and just snipe for 2 energy and have to discard both of them. But your opponent may not see that play coming if they didn't have enough energy in their discard pile. Well, now this supplements that. Other Dusknoir decks, but even just normal decks, just being behind will help people get caught up. Sylveon can do its first move now, Jared, for 2 energy instead of 3. Maybe that helps against Archelon. So, but no, you picked a great card, and this is probably going to be one of, I was going to go too far, one of the best cards in Surging Sparks for sure. Counter Gain, will be prevalent. I can't wait until you I love the game you play, Jared, when you say over under how many Surging Sparks will be in the winning deck or whatever. And it's going to be, well, there's going to be 2 counter gains. So, or 1 counter game. So that's, I can't wait till we play that, but in a future episode. But that's a great card. It's prevalent, big time.
It's good. It's very good. All right, let's get into a few more. A lot of interesting supporters in this set. Cory, you went with Drayton. We have not talked about this supporter a lot off cast. So why is this so engaging to you? Like, I'm sitting here wondering why this is a top pick for you.
Okay. So
and let me read the card real quick too.
Okay,
I apologize.
read the card.
So supporter card, Drayton. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal a Pokemon and a trainer card you find there. Put them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards. So we've seen a lot of different cards over the years, both supporters and trainers that have that. Look at the top X amount of cards to us. Why is this one so engaging to you?
Let me reposition here on the desk and put my mouth to the mic so you hear me. I'll speak slowly. This deck is going to be in every Dusknoir variant. I promise you, especially if there's a Pidgeot involved. Because if you can guarantee top 7 and combo Rare Candy Dusknoir, Rare Candy Pidgeot, Dusknoir, or Stretcher, another Pokemon. The options are so vast, you're going to hit something. And if Candy Blank wasn't so big right now, I would say, okay, it's kind of overrated. But the item cards you mentioned, tool cards are so big right now. The Pokemon, I just think this card with a Rare Candy type deck is going to be massive. If you played it in Terrapagos, if you could find Noctowl and a trainer card, the Aero Zero, I just think there's so many options with 7 cards off the top. There's very rarely, Jared, will you whiff on this completely. I know it's a chance card, so I get it. People are going to weigh their options there, but I just think with the amount of cards you're pulling, it's like why Lugia runs Great Ball still. It's like 7 cards to 7 cards. They flipping, the aromas, they flip. You don't know what you're going to get, but it's like, well, tails get or heads get this. I can pick something decent, right? Lumineon or Archeops or whatever. I think this card's similar. You're going to find something in those 7. I just think it's really good. I love it. I think it'll
work. I think it's very strong, and the ability it says similar to what the Noctowl says. You're finding a trainer card. This doesn't say item card. This doesn't say supporter card. You're gonna get a hit more often than not.
You're gonna get a hit. You want to grab a supporter for next turn, go for it. But I just think this is designed for Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Dusknoir. This is what I think. This is why people would run this, right? Counter gain blank. Whatever, right? Rare Candy Charizard. I mean, it just can. I don't know. It's just good. It's good.
Very good. It's very good. And one of the cards that it can find is this new Terra Orb, Cory, which I think is just crazy. There's nothing. It's just find a Terra Pokemon, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, yeah, that feels really great, but it's so good because how many Stage 2 Terra Pokemon that you have to have that Ultra Ball to find. And now you're just upping your consistency. And this is just going to continue and continue and continue being stronger. This card will be around for so long.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have any limitations on it. So many of the ball cards that we have either have a kickback to them, require you to put something on a bench. This just lets you find it and put it in your hand. Sure. And I just think that's so incredibly strong. I think it's a cool looking card too.
Yeah.
This is just an all-around win for the future of more and more Terra Pokemon coming out and your ability to be consistently finding them. I just think it's super strong. No, it's simple. It's simple, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, again, speaking of how old we are, back in the day, Premier Ball, I don't know if you remember, could find a level X, and everyone had at least one because it's like you had to be able to search those things out, and you could Bebe search too, but the Premier Ball was an item card that found those level X's, which was key. This Terra Orb, like I said, it's going to be around a long time, and it's really good. I will say, an honorable mention, I had the Dusk Ball picked, but I didn't send it to you. That's look at your bottom 7 cards and find a Pokemon and put it in your hand. Why do you think that would be so good, Jared? Even though it's 7 cards, why is the Dusk Ball good?
Because everybody's favorite card, Iono.
Iono, baby. You know sometimes what you're putting on the bottom of your deck. So you could have a dust ball as your protection. So if it's not in your hand, they Iono you to 4. You had the dust, the Pidgeot or the Dusknoir, and you dust ball and find it. So I think the dust ball is cool, but the Terra ball orb is, you're right, Jared. This thing's going to be around for 2 years. It's just going to be prevalent in every deck.
My honorable mention, I read it incorrectly and I thought it was the most broken card and was going to change the game forever. Lycia's Appeal. Switch one of your opponent's basic Pokemon to the active, and if you do, the new active Pokemon is confused. So a lot of basic. I thought we were about to just be done with boss's orders. Switch. Yeah, I did. The first time I read it, I conveniently read over the basic aspect of it. But still, that's very strong. Like, how many, like, that allows you to stick someone. Like, I just think that's a very interesting card, and I wonder if we'll see enough of it for it to be worthwhile to play.
I don't think confusion is enough of a trade-off for it to be just basic. So, meaning, like, I would just run boss. So sure. I can guarantee pull anything. But I mean, I'm with you. The confusion, is interesting because of the major basic Pokemon obviously aren't evolving, right? Some can, but you'd be pulling out Raging Bolt. Now it's confused. So you're gonna swing. You're gonna swing into me confused next turn or not. So I could see situations. There'll be a one of and some control decks probably for sure.
I could see that. I could totally see that. But man, we're going to be talking about this set more and more as we look forward to the upcoming tournaments and when these are viable. And we'll be talking more and more about what we're seeing online, what we're hearing pros talk about. There is a lot. This set honestly kind of snuck up on me personally, but I just think there's so much in here that's so strong. It has so many throwbacks to so many players' favorite mechanics. My only worry for this, Cory, and I'm interested in you, is like, is this set going to be the set that busts our lovely little happy meta right now, where it feels like our highest played deck is at a 15% and anything can win? I'm worried that something in this set is just going to become the 30 to 50% share because it's so strong. But I'm interested to hear what you think.
Well, yes. And we already covered it. So people are going to be sick of Archelodon. Like, you're going to be sick of it. And people are going to be mad. You're going to be sick of it. Like, it's going to be that deck, Jared. It already is. I mean, it just already is. Like, it's going to be that deck. So I think there's some fun Terra in this. I think with the Magneton, you can get some energy onto these things finally now. So I think that will open up some possibilities. But I think when you can consistently swing for 220 and scoop this thing up and you can't one-shot it, I don't know what you do. It's gonna mess up the meta. It's gonna mess up. I will call when this set is legal, which I think it's LAIC might be the first tournament. Archelodon 24% in day one. It's gonna be 24. I'm calling it right now, and we'll talk about it later. So I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. On this, it's too good.
It's the only thing slowing it down is it is a stage 1 and it's basic. Can't be Buddy Poffin 4. So that's true. The only thing slowing it down at this point is its ability to find Pokemon. But again, like you said, past supporter cards, there's a lot of synergy here moving into the set. But man, I'm excited. I'm hoping to get out to a pre-release at some point, get some of these cards. I think this will also be a really fun collection set.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, personally for me, I want the cast forms, Sunny form full art. Illustrative art looks amazing to me.
Oh baby, I bet won't that Pikachu like special rare, super rare? I mean, that's going to be the most expensive.
Bananas. Yeah. Get your hands on a Pikachu.
There's one person I want opening the packs to this set, and that is Elijah. That is our junior sponsored player. That kid, he has a future in opening packs. I would love for him to do a scratch off too. Can he do a lot of?
Don't think that's legal just yet. Can't talk about that.
Hypothetically, can he do one? Hypothetically.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny.
All right.
Well, let's do a quick education moment. I know this has been a longer episode, but we're coming off a tournament news set coming out.
You're like in the dark now.
It is dark here now.
Yeah.
It is. Let's see if I can get any the last bit of light coming out of my window over here. My Meowth over here, keeping me company.
It's creepy. I don't know what's behind you, but it's scary. Oh, that's a cat. That is a cat. That's why you said Meowth. Okay, I'm sorry. I was like, what is behind you? That is a cat. Okay.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, so I want to bring up, and you stole my thunder a little bit, but I got love for you. I want to talk about James Cox. And
I was just setting you up. I was just setting you up.
You set me up. But I want to talk about looking at, okay, here's this deck, Regidrago. Statistically, this deck is falling off in terms of its day 1 playability since Worlds and its day 2. If you drew a line dot graph, it's trending downwards. However, for James, he said, no, this is still a very good deck. I'm just going to make some tweaks in it. So let's take a look real quick. If we go back and look at when he played this, the first time he played this, Corey, was at Worlds. And it was a fairly standard build for him at Worlds, right? Like, yep. Let's take a look at the list. So nothing super crazy here. We've got the Howlucha, got the Radiant Charizard, Fezandipity, Mew, Kyurem, Giratina, Venusaur, Dragapult. This was a very standard build, and he performed well on it, okay? Yep. So that was his starting point. And then, okay, now we're going to take a look forward. He's running it at Dortmund. Did worse on it at Dortmund. This even further drives my point. With a very similar list. I don't have it compared 1-to-1, but I think a few tweaks. The Pokemon look different. He upped his Dragapults to 2, kept his Giratina, got rid of the Goodra, it looks like.
Yeah. Okay.
So some changes, some minor changes. Again, tech, don't spec, changing out a few cards. So sure. you place 44th on it at Worlds, then you go to Dortmund and you get 96 on it. For me, that would be the end.
Yeah, because you feel like you've regressed. Is that why?
Yeah, the deck looks like it's regressing. You feel like you're regressing. But he said, no. I'm good at this deck. I have the practice. I'm taking this to Lille. And he won. Now, I'm not guaranteeing results like this, but you hit the nail on the head. He tweaked it again, Corey. And I didn't see every single one of his matches, but I guarantee you, like you said, that Hoot Noctowl made all of the difference. 2 cards made all of the difference to take this deck into a way more consistent world. And then the deck just does what it does, Corey. It just pounds you with options.
Yeah.
So that is a quick educational moment, but it's twofold. Actually, it's threefold. I got 3 points for here. 1, consistency with a deck matters. Playing the same 55 cards again and again and again just builds a level of knowledge and comfort that is good. And in a meta like this where anything can win, I admire James because he stuck with it. It's not like, some new card was out. It can win. It looked weak to us at Louisville, but he just won a 1,300 player tournament and he just punched his ticket to Worlds because he stuck with it. That's my first point. My second point is the power of not quitting after a worse finish. I mentioned it. Okay, I did worse on it. I still did 2 on it, but I'm going to bring it again. You've got to have that grit. You've got to have that grit to where if you know something and you run it again, it can be with there. And my third point is just the power of, again, just keep tweaking. Just keep tweaking. If you know your deck can win, if it's proven to be an S tier deck, just keep tweaking. And what did he do? He took from another great deck and he made it work.
Do you think, I love those points. I think staying consistent, we've had guys on the pod, Colin Marilyn Matthews. I think all he played was Mew. And there were ones he did well, and then ones he didn't, and ones he did well, and then one he didn't. And then the very last Mew legal tournament in Vancouver, he gets top 8. It was his best performance on that deck.
Yep.
And there were tweaks all over the place with that deck. But I think he's obviously James Cox is extremely comfortable on Regidrago, and it is still a top tier deck, but it was just missing a little something. He figured it out, man. I don't think I would have gotten the 1/1 Hoot or Noctowl, but you're right. How many decks out there, Jared? We both run Goldengo, right, at Louisville, and I'm like spamming through the Lille right now. Was there one Goldengo? Did we not inspire anybody? Jeez. Europe. Where are you on our podcast? We told you it was good. I'm looking just real quick. He did the Bidoof, the barrel. This is Goldingo. So, okay. That was when I was running. 3 ciphers, 2 boss, 2 Iono, 2 Irida, Turo. I think this is legit the same list that I ran.
List, yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, same exact list. So he didn't tweak anything up, but you could. I was really hoping he did, and that was going to prove my point, but it didn't. So, but you're right on it, Jared. You always are with the deck building stuff, and don't give up on something. Be consistent with it. Elijah, we just talked about Eli, our junior. Your son, he plays Reggie Drago. Maybe a 1/1 Noctowl. Maybe that is what he needs, and then he could see some more success on that deck. So, don't give up on something. Maybe it's just one tweak is all it needs, and then you got first place. So, good stuff, man. Really I love you educating us.
Teach us Pokemon, man. We're learning. I feel inspired by James. I appreciate him sticking with it and proving the point. But Cory, that's really going to wrap us up today. Again, no big competitive play coming up. We may see some other parts of the world come in with some tournaments. We'll look at those results next week. But really, now is the time to go enjoy a pre-release, go get some fun new sets. This is a really, really fun set. Some great cards in there if you're a player or a collector. Yeah. And just enjoy kind of the fun at League right now if you're a regular League player, because this deck is really going to spice some things up with some new archetypes.
It'll be really cool. Yeah, no, I love that note. Take a good weekend off. Just see all the things Surging Sparks has to offer you, because there is a lot in this, and get some good play. Like you said, go to a League Cup, go to pre-release, go to a challenge, and then, get geared up. And then we're going to fly out to Poland. We're going to Poland, you and I. We're going to Poland, Jared. No, we're not, but that'd be really fun if we were.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Anyway. All right, man. Again, we've gone from light to dark, so I think it's time. This is a long episode.
Got to wrap this one up. But again, one day I will have a studio, Cory. There will be better video, better audio, better lighting, and this won't happen to us.
It won't happen to it. You already look good. It's fine. Stray Collections, our sponsor. Shout out. Go to straycollections.com. Buy some packs.
I got to zoom out right here. Check out that poster. Check out that poster.
Mike Hamilton with the poster coming in clutch. Teach me Pokemon. I'm doing the move. Yeah, no, we're
like
gonna
Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man, but it's not. It's Pokemon. So anyway, all right, Jared, Cory, we'll catch you later. You can find us at roguemedianetwork.com. Teach Me Pokemon Podcast. Come and dive with us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.